Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Hello and welcome to jasonnewland.com. My name is Jason Newland. I hope you are well. Hi! So, God, no idea what today is. I know it's Tuesday, I don't know what the date is. Is it the 22nd or something like that of June 2025? I'm not really sure. Please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. This is Let Me Bore You to Sleep. My name's Jason Newland. Oh, got itchy leg. I think I might have been bitten by a gnat. Okay, it's fleas. Okay, fair enough. Right then. It's probably been the busiest 5 days I've had for a very, very, very long time. As far as, I suppose you could call it outside activities. You know, I'm busy sometimes making recordings, but not this week. I haven't been. So I'm gonna tell you about it. Oh, first of all, my website's back. So apologies to anyone that were annoyed for the website going, but it's now back as it was. I'm just gonna have to do a few little checks to make sure it's as exactly how it was, but it is back online, jasonnewland.com, and that's done. I haven't made a recording. According to my web, I don't know. I'm losing track. To be fair, I did a Q&A Friday on Friday. And I think I did a Deep Sleep Whisper recording afterwards later on in the day. I think. And then no, I don't think I'd have done this Saturday. So basically, here's what's happened. I'm going to talk about a medical situation, but I'm not going to go into information about the medical condition. Okay? So this is going to involve hospitals and stuff. So if that's... It might not be the most relaxing thing to tell you, to talk about. But, you know, I like to tell you what's going on in my life as well. But at the same time, I'm not gonna go all deep and serious with this, although it has been a very, very serious situation. So, you know, it involves medical, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about medical stuff, but not really, if you know what I mean. But I will be talking about hospitals, because that's where I've been every day for the last 5 days. Not for me, but for someone else. So, it all started in 1970 when I was born. No, it's so my neighbour is having his new bathroom done, and I didn't see him last week, pretty much all week, because he's having his bathroom done, and he's used to having his own space. So really, the fact that he had people coming and going all week, didn't really see him. and I didn't bother him. I didn't really knock on his door because I could see on my camera that he was in and out, and he was fine, and they were all in and out on the. Cause I've got a door camera, in and out doing the building work. So on Friday evening, when all the builders had finished, I knocked on his door to see how he was getting on. I mean, I say evening, it's still light outside, so probably about 8 o'clock, 7, 8, 7 ish, 6, 7. And this is Friday, it's now Tuesday evening. And he opened the door. I just got in from the sun. I mean, I'd just been outside and it was still sunny. Or bright anyway, maybe not sunny. It was still very bright outside. So everything looks a bit weird when I get inside after being outside. Especially with these glasses, because they're tinted glasses. So it makes everything a little bit of a weird kind of visual for a short while. Plus, my eyesight is not as good as it used to be. Well, my neighbour, he's my friend as well, but just use the word neighbour. I guess it's probably classes me more as a friend now, but he opened the door. So I'll just explain my relationship with him. It's friends with benefits. No, it's neighbours with benefits. No, he's quite elderly. He's nearly 78. I help him out with some stuff, so paying bills, when he gets letters, making phone calls. I help him with that stuff. Just stuff because his hearing's not great, so I help him out with stuff. Where he, just general. I'm not his carer, but I just try and help him when he needs help. And he hardly ever asked for help at all for the first 9 years. But over the last year, he's been a bit more. I mean, he asked me for help in the past, but only for little bits and bobs. When he locks himself out or he's lost his debit card, things like that. Or if he's had my telephone number for a long time, so he's locked himself in a couple of times where he couldn't open the lock. So I was talking to him through the letterbox, even though we both were on the phone as well, which is weird. I've actually did a podcast about that episode, and that was strange because the council, who I phoned, would not talk to me because I'm not him. Okay, so I phone up saying my elderly neighbour is locked inside his flat. He needs to leave his home, but he can't open the door because the door is jammed. The lock was jammed, so it needed a locksmith. And they said, well, who is he? I said who he was. And he said, who are you to him? I said, I'm his neighbour. And then they said, well, we can't talk to you. I said, you are talking to me. No, we can't talk to you. We have to talk to him. So I literally I said, well, she said, we'll phone him up. I said, but you can phone him up. So they did, phone him up. He couldn't hear him. So they phoned me up. And they said, can you put the phone through the letterbox so he can talk to us? So it was weird. Anyway, so a few little things like that. I ended up putting his fish and chips through the letterbox because he couldn't get out to get any food. That was a weird one. It's a shared memory, though. So Friday evening, he opens a door. Now, he's got very frail lately, but he's 78. He's not a big eater. He doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, he's probably one of the most enthusiastic people I've ever met regarding sport, regarding anything. And if I've ever met anyone, possibly of any age, that was so enthusiastic about what they love. And he loves sport. I mean, all sport. Boxing's not too bothered about. That's the one I love. But he knows about boxing, but not a huge amount. But when it comes to football, rugby, cricket, absolutely, he knows. There don't seem to be anything he don't know, and he follows all of it. He'll listen to one sport on the radio, he'll watch one sport on the TV, and he'll have another one playing on his tablet, like 3 different sports at the same time. It's just like, I don't know how he does it. It's not something that I could do. But he loves it. And that's what's so sad about the situation. Because he loves being alive. Right, okay. Again, I'm not going to go into deep stuff, but he loves, he's got energy, he's enthusiastic about life. Constantly looking forward to the next day, because the rugby's on, or the cricket's on, or the football match. He's looking forward to that. He's looking forward to the weekend every week, because that's when a lot of sport is on television. So, you know, I'm trying to get across that he's really nice, very chatty, very chatty. But he's a really nice person. He's a kind and gentle person. But, as probably I am, he's set in his ways like a lot of people are. I guess I am as well, in a lot of ways. Probably in maybe more ways than he is, to be fair. And he's independent. He does not like people interfering with his business. And who does, to be honest? I don't think anyone does really, do they? However, I'm laughing just because it put me in a very difficult situation. There's nothing funny at all about this situation. There's zero humour, but I'll probably get some out of it. But just remember, I'm not mocking him or his situation at all. That's not what I'm doing, but I will perhaps laugh at some of the things that have happened. So, I open a door, and literally I couldn't keep my eyes open because it was so bright. I thought he had some kind of light shining out of his flat, and I thought, oh my God, my glasses were turning brown again, like the lenses, and I didn't know what's going on. So I took my glasses off, and it wasn't coming from there, it was coming from him. He was yellow. And I've seen that once before, many, many years ago, like 2004. That's when I last saw that. It's the only time I've ever seen it. And that person was a severe alcohol drinker, and he survived, but he was in hospital. So, but he, again, another really nice person. So I lived in that house. That was when I lived in Ipswich. I lived in a house that was, every single person in there, apart from the person at the bottom, was an alcoholic, except me. And I didn't drink that whole year. It was just really, I think that's pretty irony. I stopped drinking because I had a little bit of a drink issue previous. I was just drinking excessively for 3 years, like every night for 3 years pretty much. So I stopped drinking for a whole year, 2004. I moved into this place. The bloke next to me was a full-on alcoholic. I'm talking like proper, not didn't go to work. He's just drunk all the time. The man downstairs, and I got on really well with him. I helped him get a council flat when he got evicted. so I kind of helped him during that period. I wasn't living there anymore, but I just couldn't leave him. I wanted to help him to. Well, if you're friends with someone, you've got to help them, innit? The bloke downstairs was a full-on, like, really, almost like a functioning alcoholic. The one next to me wasn't functioning. The one downstairs was functioning. And I got on really well with him. So again, really quite good friends with him. The man next to him was also an alcoholic, but he wouldn't talk to me. He just didn't like me, so he lived directly below me, and he moaned that I was making too much noise. Because when I moved in, I had this bed. What are they called, the beds that are on the floor? Futons. I had a futon. The most uncomfortable bed in my life, that was. So every time I moved, I guess I was moving the floorboards or whatever, and he could hear me. I think I'd be listening to the radio or something, and he just moaned. So he didn't like me, which is fine. Then downstairs at the bottom, so that's 1, 2, 3 people, 2 at the top, which was me and someone, 2 at the bottom, 2 below me, and then 2 right at the bottom. The one right at the bottom, that's the one that ended up in hospital. He was, again, another functioning alcoholic, and I think he was retired. Like the 2 functioning ones were retired. Next to him, there was a crack house. I'm not even joking, it got closed down by the police. So he didn't drink, but he did other stuff. But he also was really nice. It's just a weird situation. He was lovely. Yeah, everyone in the house was nice. I didn't get on with one. He might be nice as well, but everyone else was really nice. And it was really strange because that was my year of abstinence, almost like I'm not doing anything this year. And I'm surrounded by all this alcohol. It was ridiculous. It was, yeah, I don't know, almost like it was a test. Anyway, so I've seen that before. So my friend, neighbour opposite, yellow skin, and I thought, I'm seeing things here. I had Vinny with me on his lead, so I said, look, do you want to show me your bathroom? She said, yeah, come in. He's exactly the same. It's the same as what he ever is like, you know. He was quite bubbly, as he normally is. He's generally quite pleased to see me. He doesn't let anyone else in his flat, other than the builders. He's got no choice about that, but he doesn't invite anyone into his home, but he does me. Now, he didn't for the first 9 years or 8 years. So I went in there, went to the bathroom. It's a really good job they've done. So he's had his kitchen done, now he's got his bathroom, it's nearly finished. I've been letting them in this week because he's in hospital. Such a really nice bathroom, but it's very bright as well because there's new light in there. It's really bright at the moment, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, at this point my glasses have gone back to normal, and I said to him, are you okay? He said, what are you talking about, Willis? I said, no. He said, are you okay? He said, yeah. You feel okay? He said, yeah. He said, why? I said, well, you're yellow. And he said, what? Now, he doesn't have a mirror in his home. And I don't know how he shaves. He does shave, so he must just do it by... He must just... I guess he's done it for years, but... Mind you, I've shaved at the sink without looking in the mirror. It's possible to do it. Like, I've done it with a wet shave, a wet razor, where I've had a sink that was nowhere near a mirror. Because I couldn't be bothered to, walk 2 steps to the mirror to do it. But hey, it's just laziness. It's a challenge as well, isn't it? To do it by touch. And it is possible. I mean, millions of people around the world have no choice but to do it by touch, do they? I guess if they're unable to see. So yeah, it is. Of course, it's possible. He didn't know that he was yellow, but it wasn't just his skin; it was his eyes as well. The whites of his eyes. And I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then we just have a normal conversation, and I said, "Well, I'm just going to head off." And he was joking, saying, I said, "Have you got the builders coming at the weekend?" He said, "No, they're not coming in if they are. Even if they knock, they're not coming in because it's rugby tomorrow." And I laughed because I know he would not answer the door at the weekend. That's his time. I said, "Okay, cool. I'll see you later." I said, "I'll see you on Monday." Because, I leave him alone at the weekend. And then I get in here, because I live opposite. I get in here and I'm thinking, that ain't right. It's just not right. It's like, I can't, how can I ignore that? I understand. I mean, there's been people coming and going, not said a thing to him about it all week. They must have seen him. They have to see him because he's letting them in. So, and he's a right chatterbox. So he's probably been talking to them the whole week. So they've seen him and no one's mentioned it. But then maybe the fact that they haven't seen him before, they might think that's just how he looks all the time. It's a weird one, isn't it? It's difficult. If you see someone you know really well and they're limping, you're going to mention that and say, "You okay? You're limping." But if you see someone for the first time, you're a builder, you knock on the door and they're limping, you're not going to question it, are you? I guess it's the same kind of thing, I suppose. I don't know. I imagine if you're going into people's houses, you see so many different things that maybe they don't even notice it. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm sitting in here and I'm starting to get upset because I don't know what to do. Like, really starting to get, this is a very awkward situation because I know what he's like. And I know that he wouldn't want me interfering. I was correct as well. So what I did is, which is something I don't normally do, I left Vinny here and I went out round the corner to a neighbour that I know. And she's a bit older than me. She's someone that I can I felt I needed to talk to someone a bit older than me. I don't know why. There's not many people older than me these days, but I thought I'd just get her perspective. And I said, "I don't know what to do." And I said, "What I need is really a second opinion, because I might not be seeing things correctly. I'm seeing yellow, but maybe he's not tan because he doesn't go out in the daytime. Really, he goes out at night. And there was always that. Maybe that's why. Maybe there's some kind of vitamin deficiency. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I didn't finish the entire course. I didn't start it. I didn't start the course either. But by saying I didn't finish my doctorate is correct, isn't it? I didn't get my doctorate. I didn't start a doctorate, but I didn't get the doctorate. I never became a doctor. It's true. Doesn't mean I don't, I also don't have any medical training either. So that's irrelevant, isn't it, really? I'm almost in disbelief about what's happened over the last 5 days. So I'm used to not going out other than 3 times a day with this little one here, this little fur ball in the park. I don't even cross the road to go to the petrol station or the pet shop anymore. Everything I buy is online. It's almost like there's an invisible barrier that I've struggled to cross. I don't get my prescriptions get delivered, or I try and get someone to pick them up for me. I don't even travel there anymore. And it's been like that for probably since my friend downstairs passed away, pretty much. I haven't really got out, haven't been out much at all. In fact, the last time I went out, last time I left this area, like literally kind of left this area, I think was probably my friend's funeral, which was a year and a half ago. Something like that, yeah, over a year and a half ago. So yeah, it was kind of strange. So anyway, I'm saying that because I've ended up having to go out. So Friday, so I'm around my friend and neighbour's house, and they said, "Oh, you know," I'm not being rude to them because it's a natural human thing, isn't it? We start diagnosing. As soon as you say someone's turned yellow, well, it's this, it's that, and my personal the way I kind of look at it is, I don't know what it is, but I know it's not supposed to be yellow. That's all I can say, and I know that can be a sign of something very serious. And I went online, I did research it as well before, as soon as I came back, just online to sort of, okay. No description of turning yellow came up as being a positive. That's all I'm saying. So I thought, what do I do next? So I went around my neighbours. They'd basically diagnosed him and were about to write him a prescription. I said, no, wait a minute. First of all, you're not a doctor. Secondly, can one of you come round with me? And he knows the daughter because he's met her loads of times. She's a little bit younger than me. And so I said, if you come round and I knock on his door, because they asked me, actually the neighbour they visited asked me if I had a toilet roll they could borrow. So I thought, okay, I'll use that as an excuse. I'll knock on my neighbour's door, the opposite me, ask him if he's got a spare toilet roll, because I've only got one left. So it gave me an opportunity to get him to open the door, because he did answer the door to me. And the other neighbour around the corner, she was with me, and as soon as the door opened, she just went, wow. Like, she was even shocked, even considered I'd already told her what was happening. I don't know if she didn't believe me or whatever, or didn't think it was quite as, significant. And he kind of says he got rid of us quite quickly. And so I gave them the toilet roll, because I did need a toilet roll, but I just gave them my one. Came back in here. I didn't know what to do next. I struggled, really. It's weird. I think with my friend downstairs, it was just me the whole time. Well, not just me, but generally it was very often only me that was dealing with him, with his issues. So I kind of got used to it over years and years of it. It was just progressive, in a sense of more of the same. This was completely new. This is something I'd never dealt with him before, or with anyone, not really. In this sense, like being the person he needed to do something. So I called 111, which is in the UK, it's like a medical helpline. It's not 999, like in some countries it's 911, isn't it, or whatever, different numbers. That would be emergency. 111 is a place where you can phone up. They ask you some questions. You can ask questions on behalf of someone else. Technically, you can't personally. You can, if you've got a loved one that's got conditions or got some kind of symptoms, you can ask for advice. Well, I did this, and the person on the 111, they were very limited because I wasn't with him. And they kept asking me questions that I couldn't answer. Well, they asked, like, how is he feeling? I said, he's feeling fine. Is he there with you now? I said, no, he's not with me now. Well, can you go and get him? I said, not really, because he told me to leave him alone, basically, in so many words. Stop fussing, I think, might have been one of his sentences. And they said, okay, what's his date of birth? I said, I don't know his date of birth, but I know he's nearly 78. Okay. But I do know his name, I've got his address and all that stuff, I've got his telephone number. I said to them, I said, okay, right. So they said, well, based on what you said, he needs to call, we need to speak to him. I said, okay. So they said, we can't deal with you, we're going to need to deal with him, because he's the one that is got the condition. And I thought, okay, this is going to be awkward. But they said it's important because, not really because of his age or anything, just basically because of from what you said, it's an important thing. It's a condition that will need medical attention. And we want to get some more information from him, regarding medical background, which I don't have. I don't know anything. It turns out he's never had anything wrong with him ever in his life. Never. By the way, I'm not going to give his information away or say who it is. It could be anyone, so you're not going to know that. But he's completely never been ill, other than just the general things that all people have every now and then. Doesn't even have a doctor. He's not even registered with a doctor. And that's how healthy he's been his whole life. And I did tell them that. I didn't know about the doctor, but I knew that he told me, he's always told me, never been on medication. Because when he heard that I was on medication, he was kind of surprised that I was on, because he's on nothing, and I'm on, 4 different medications. And he was like, really? You're on all them? I said, yeah, shut up. And he was interested in the bipolar. He was interested in me telling him about that stuff. So every now and then he asks me a question about it. But it's like gradual, Anyway, so I'm here. I don't know what to do. I phoned downstairs to my other neighbours and I said, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. And this is, there's a lady that lives downstairs that I get on really well with. She's just directly below me. And she's 20 years old, but she's probably way more mature than I am. It's weird. It's not really weird, but I'm just not... I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do. And I needed some support. And maybe the fact that I asked for support is because I'd never had any support with my other friend. And I realised that I needed it back then, but I didn't have any. I had no one to ask for help. This situation, I just decided I'm going to ask, which is why I did ask the neighbour around the corner, the neighbour downstairs. And she said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll come up and we'll tell him together. Because I didn't know if he was going to get angry with me, because he already told me pretty much no twice. The second time it was a little bit like, go away. He closed the door a little bit, quite quickly. So I knock on his door for a third time. This time there's someone else standing there. So this is really annoying him, which is understandable. It would annoy me as well. Especially as he doesn't... he knows them, but he doesn't know them the way he knows me. So these are people he's seen, but he doesn't really have like regular contact with them. And I said, I'm the only one he lets in his house. No one else is allowed in there. So I've got her boyfriend's there as well. He's standing on the stairs, but he's tall enough to see over the banister. And he opens the door, and I say to him, "Oh, you know her downstairs." I don't know what excuse I made for her being there, but I said, "I've called 111 about your situation." And he said, "What'd you do that for?" I said, "Well," you seemed like you were looking forward to the weekend. I just wanted to ruin all the rugby for you." So, no, I didn't say that. It's like, what other option did I have? He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I care. That's why. That's why I called, because I care." I said, I was getting a little bit defensive, to be honest. I said, if that's a problem for you, that's your problem. But I'm sorry, I've gone through life with a lot of people not caring. I know what it's like, and he's used to not being on his own. And I see him as a future version of me in some ways, because we're both very on our own, doing our own thing, very independent, don't really like being bothered, and don't generally ask anyone for anything, if at all possible. And I was really getting in the way of that. I've been knocking on his door three times. The first time was fine anyway, because that was just a standard, let's have a look at your bathroom. But the other two times, and having different people standing there with me, he was anyway, the third time he got angry with me. And I understand it, I do. But at the same time, I also needed a third opinion. I needed to be 100% sure, because I knew I was about to ruin his weekend, at the very least, because he was looking forward to watching the rugby. And I also thought, there's a chance he won't talk to me again. But then I've got I told my friend downstairs, the one, Luke, I said to him at least once, because I'd called an ambulance for him multiple times, and he hated it. He would never go to hospital. Never, under any circumstances, would he be taken to hospital in an ambulance. And they always wanted to take him, but he never went. And I said to him once, or I might have said it more than once, I said, "Listen, mate, I'd rather you hate me and be alive than love me and be dead." I know it's just pretty a silly sentence to say, and when I said it, I was quite, not aggressive, but like I wasn't being all gentle with it. It was like, that's how it is. You got a problem with it, you're going to have to deal with it. Because I'm not going to stand and watch. I'm not just going to ignore someone who's in trouble. I can't do that. I just don't have it in me to do that. So I said the same thing to Alex. It's like I got that little line rehearsed. I feel, do you ever get a feeling, when you see Clint Eastwood or those movies, and they say the things like, "Go on, make my day." Like he's got it rehearsed. I know he got it rehearsed as in, it was in the movie, it was a script. But it's like it's a really good line, but I just keep it there for the good, for the right moment. So I said that to him on the third time we were together. No, it wasn't the third time together. It was, the third time I was knocking on his door, I told him that I'd called 111. And he said, "You shouldn't have done that." I said, "Well, I did." He said, "Well, you shouldn't have done." I said, "But I did." And he was very angry. He shut the door in my face, slammed the door in my face. Apparently he said something rude to me as well, but I didn't realise. But my neighbour heard. Well, both of them heard him. For some reason I didn't hear it. So that was awkward. Now at this point, my other neighbours from downstairs, they come into my flat. And they're like, wow. Probably surprised at how he was acting to me, because I know that me and him have been quite close for the last year or so. So it's kind of, she was surprised at that. Because the whole time she's lived there, me and him have been, we get on really, she sees us, I don't know, she was just surprised at how he was acting. So she came in here and she said, well, I don't know what to do. So what she did is she called 111 and reported it and said, look, the neighbour, he won't listen to us, he won't allow anyone to come in and, medical, anything like that, blah blah. So 111, they'd already told me, because I called them back again as well, and they kept asking the same questions. Is he with you? Can you check what's his condition now? I said, I'd literally, to the same person, I'd said probably 6-7 times, I'm not with him because he won't let me in the flat. He shut the door in my face. We slammed the door in my face. He won't let me in. I can't talk to him. And every other, probably 3 minutes later, so can I talk to him? Like, he's not with me. So is he still yellow? Like, it was weird. It was kind of, I realised they've got their script and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. So I'm not in no way being horrible. It was difficult. And she said, well, we'll get back to you. I'll get they were all nice. Everyone I spoke to was nice. We'll get someone back to you. She already spoke to her manager, and then they said, we'll get back to you. And then they said that also to my other neighbour. They didn't get back to my other neighbour. And I thought that was it. Like, I gave them his number. And I said, unlikely he's going to answer the phone if he hasn't even turned it off. He's locked the door so you can't get in. And unlikely he's going to answer the door. I was wrong on all that, actually. I was wrong. He had locked it, but he actually was very compliant with them, not with me. So I got I haven't got access to my phone. So probably about half an hour later, maybe the phone went. Maybe an hour later, the phone went, and it was 111 again. I think this time it was a nurse, and she said, are you with him? I said, no, I'm not with him. He's in a different flat. The door's locked. He hates me now. She said, okay, I understand. Well, we've got his telephone number, and I'm going to try and call him. And we're going to basically send a paramedic around. She said, can you knock on his door and let him know? I said, no, I really can't. I said, well, I can, but you won't answer the door. That's a guarantee, not to me anyway. And that's just going to upset him even more. I really didn't expect him to answer the phone to them. But she phoned back about 15 minutes later and said they'd spoken to him. He was nice as pie on the phone. He agreed to have the paramedics come round. He was going to let them in. And it was absolutely lovely. And I thought, really? So I think at this point I went to bed. I didn't really go to bed, but I went for a lie down because I didn't feel any longer that I could be involved because of the way he'd treated me and the way that he'd spoken to me, and I didn't think that he'd want me involved. But at the same time, he was getting medical assistance, and that was the most important thing. Having me around wasn't important. That's what I thought anyway. But him getting help was important. So they went in there. I was just laying down. It's like 10:15 or something. They weren't in there long. There was no big long thing. It was like, right, yep, we're taking you to hospital. They were in there for 15 minutes. And 10:30, Vinny's barking so you can hear the door go. I left my door open, which is not what I normally do when I'm in bed at that time, but I looked at the camera, I saw that they were coming out, and he was locking the door. So I came out, and I said, "You alright?" It's very awkward. And the paramedics, they knew who I was, I guess. They knew because I was the one that called. Not knew me personally, but I think I probably told them I'm the one that called you. In fact, wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, I've got this wrong. I'm doing this in the wrong order. Right, here's what happened. I took Vinny out for his last little wee-wee. That's it. And I'm coming back and the ambulance is there. Or, yeah, I'm coming back and the ambulance was there. So I go up to them and say, hi. They said, hi. I said, I'm the one that called you. They said, oh, okay, hi. And I said, and I just explained the situation. And they went upstairs. And I just waited. Oh yeah. Oh, that's it. I saw the ambulance outside. I came down to take him into the garden, but I thought I'd go out the front. And I turned right for some reason, and then I turned left again. I don't know, it's weird. Anyway, and I went up and told him who I was, and that I'm the one that called originally, and explained my perspective of what's kind of going on with him, just because he's colouring really, but he physically feels fine and everything. And they said, okay, so they went upstairs. I took Vinny in the garden, so they were knocking for a little while before he answered, to be fair, and then but they didn't give up, and I just waited. I waited and listened until he'd let them in, and they closed the door. And then I went upstairs and I went and lied down. But they weren't there for long, and then they brought him out. So I go outside, say, "You're right." And she said, "Yeah, there was two paramedics. So we're taking him to the hospital." And I said, as I speak to Alex, I said, "How you doing?" He said, "I think he apologised to me." And I said to him, "Do you want me to come with you?" And he said, "Yes." So I went with him. This was like 10:30. Got in the ambulance with him. He's lying down on a bed thing, and I'm sitting in a chair. I didn't even know they had chairs in ambulances. Never been for an ambulance ride as in my memory. Maybe when I was a kid, but not in my adult memory. I don't remember ever being travelling in an ambulance. And it was a very strange experience, because there was no windows. Well, there's windows, but all blackened out. So it's almost like travelling on the tube, like underground, the underground railway, but no stops. You know, no railway stations or anything going through. And I had no idea where I was. I knew I was in an ambulance, but I had no idea where I was, like within the distance of travelling to the hospital. He was fine. He was joking. They got him a cup of coffee from Costa's on the way. It was, yeah. And then, so I was with him till 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the morning. That's when I took that I took that video of that fox outside the hospital because I was waiting for a taxi. It was bright outside, but it's got a lot of lights in there in the hospital. But it was just like, wow, almost like daytime, but very quiet. See, Friday night I thought it was going to be really busy, but it wasn't. And the busiest days, which I found very interesting, just kind of threw me off a bit, but apparently the busiest times at hospital are Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. At that hospital anyway. I mean, A&E, of course it gets, I suppose it's busy pretty much the whole time, but it's, you know, it seems to be that the hospital as a whole, because they've got less staff on at the weekend. So I've been here every day since Friday, and I've seen it get busier and busier and busier. Like every day, it's almost like a 25% of the people added on. It's weird, including staff as well. So where there was like maybe 2 or 3 staff, now there's 10. It's really busy. Anyway, so they didn't put him into A&E. They didn't have him sitting down, waiting to be seen for hours and hours. They took him straight into an emergency observation place. So he was in A&E, but he was on a bed in A&E. And they took his bloods, and they did all that really quickly. And he had a CAT scan within an hour of being there. I'd say maybe 2 hours. So I was kind of with him. I didn't go into the x-ray place, but I was outside. And everyone was so nice. Bearing in mind, they're just super busy. You know, it's really weird. I think that some people, they're just sitting around doing nothing. But they're not. You know, it's like, okay, maybe they're chatting. They need to have that moments, a couple of moments of just having a chat, you know, with their friends, talking about, and that's part of the learning process as well, isn't it? Because you've got a lot of young students working there, student nurses, student doctors, and they learn from each other's experiences as well, don't they? So if someone's just had a situation as a nurse with a patient, they tell their colleague or their friend who's also a student nurse, and they can kind of learn from that experience. I just thought that out loud, and I'm really pleased with myself. Yeah, so chatting's maybe useful sometimes. Could be helpful for future patients. And they're always doing paperwork. I noticed that as well. It's constant. Because I kept interrupting people. But it got to 3 o'clock, or just after, maybe 3 to half 3, I can't remember exactly. And the nurse said to me, because I said, is a doctor coming round? Because they told us hours earlier that a doctor was going to come round, because he'd had his blood tests, he'd had his CAT scan done. So I guess we were waiting for the doctor to tell him the results of the CAT scan, maybe not the blood tests, but the CAT scan. And she said, no, he won't be seeing a doctor till tomorrow probably. Because I thought I was going to wait for him to see a doctor, either privately or with me there, whatever he wanted, and then be with him until he got into the ward, whatever ward he was going to be in. Because it looked like they already said that he's going into a ward, he was not being sent home. And that's what I was going to do. I was so tired. I wasn't delusional, whatever you want to call it. I wasn't like tripping or anything, but that particular, I know it's weird, but that particular morning, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning. It's a really early morning. I don't normally wake up that early, but I got out of bed. I had had a nap during the day, but I'm normally in bed by 10. So to be awake at 3:30, I felt like I was almost on another planet, you know? It was really strange. I felt very weird. And he wasn't tired, but then I wouldn't have been tired if I was in his situation either. So I was stimulated as well, because I'm not used to being around people, not that many people, whatever really, just in my life. I saw more people on Friday night than I've probably seen in the last 2 years. As like a amount of people. And that was just in the evening. It's just a huge amount of people in the hospital, even when it's quiet. So the nurse said to me, you might as well go home. He's not going to be seen by a doctor tonight. Very unlikely. I mean, it's 3 in the morning, but he probably won't be seen until Saturday during the day. And he very unlikely he's going to be put into a ward until tomorrow. She was saying tomorrow, but Saturday. It was already Saturday, I guess, 'cause early hours. So I told my friend, I said, I'm going to go. And he said, okay. He'd said to me a few times, go if you want. Because I was yawning and I was struggling to keep my eyes open. Like physically struggling. A bit like now. Ooh. So I left, got a taxi home. And I called him in the morning, about 10 o'clock Saturday. So I went to sleep. Was it 10 o'clock? It probably was, because I went to sleep and I woke. I couldn't go straight to sleep either, which is weird. Even though I was tired, I hadn't eaten anything for 8 hours, 9 hours. So I just needed to get some food in me. So I just had some breakfast cereal, waited for half hour, 40 minutes or whatever, then I went to sleep. In fact, I didn't go to bed. I fell asleep on this chair here. I don't know if I was watching telly, but I just fell asleep. And I woke up probably about 8 or 9 in the morning. So I had probably maybe 3 hours, 4 hours sleep. I called him up about 10, and he told me he'd been moved and he'd been seen by a doctor already. I said, wow, okay, so he's moved into a different ward. And I said, what did the doctor say? He said, it's not good. I said, okay, do you want to tell me now, or do you want me to come and visit you and tell me then? He said, well, I'll tell you in person. So I said, give me... I don't know when I went, what time. I think I left here at midday. So I said, give me a couple of hours, because I need to get ready, but I'll head off. So I got a taxi there at midday and got there just before 1 o'clock. I don't know, 20 to 1 or something. And so it was a new ward. He was on the left-hand side, yeah. And he had someone opposite. Oh, yeah, there was a bloke. I got chatting to one of the blokes that was the other side. There was two people waiting to go home, basically. And he was in his he was just sitting there. Again, felt fine, physically. And so he told me what the doctor said, so I'm like, okay. So we started having some quite serious conversations and that. And so I'm there, I got home, I couldn't even tell you what time I got home, about 7 o'clock in the evening. And I was there again Sunday. So I was leaving here probably midday again on Sunday. Get home about 6 or 7. Monday I left at about 20 to 10, quarter to 10 in the morning. Got home about 6:30 in the evening. That was Monday. Today I tried to get there a little bit earlier, so I left here about 9:10, but I missed the bus. This because all the rest of the time I've been paying taxis, and it's £20 per visit, £20 per trip, and I've been doing 2 trips a day. So 1 trip on Friday, 2 on Sunday. No, one on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and 2 on Monday. So today I had to get the bus. I really didn't have any choice, and it's a journey. It's a real journey because 2 buses, and I missed the bus. No, yesterday I got the bus back. No, I didn't use a taxi. I got a bus back, and it took me 2 hours from the hospital to my home. It takes 2 hours with 2 buses, waiting and walking. It's 2 hours, which is kind of strange, really. And so I got the bus again today. Missed the first bus, and then I missed the connection coming back. In fact, no, I didn't miss the connection. What happened is I got the bus back from the hospital to the bus station. That bus station road was closed off, so the buses had to do a detour. I was waiting for a specific bus. It didn't stop at the correct bus stop because I don't know why it didn't stop there. It went over, and there's all these other buses in the way, so I'm following it to see where it's going to park. It parked further down the road, so I'm walking towards it thinking it's going to open the doors and let people out, and people are going to wait to get in. No, it just drives off again. So I missed that bus. Then there's another bus which is going to the airport, but it does go past where I live, go past the estate. Chopper full, proper full of people, all on their way to holiday, I guess. So suitcases and everything everywhere, and I managed to get on, and I did get a seat, which was okay. But it was very noisy, and no, I guess people were excited. They're on holiday. They enjoyed themselves. But it was. Anyway, I got home. That's the bottom line. I got home. I didn't do a late one though, because I left to get there for 10, and I told him that I can't leave Vinny on his own for 7-8 hours a day. I can't keep doing that. It's just not fair on him because he's been unhappy. He's stopped eating his food. I give him his food and his water, and he's got everything he needs, but he's in one room, like the living room. It's not a tiny room or anything, but the windows are open, so he's got air ventilation. He can't get to the windows. TV's on or something, but it's too long for him. But he's now like rested. He's cuddled up to me and chilled out now, because I got home a bit earlier, and I think it makes a difference. So I took him for a walk before I took him out today. He's had 3 WALKs. I just realised I said the word. He's had 3 today. Instead of 1 normal one and 1 really short one, he's had 3 normal length ones. So he had one before I went out. I was back by 2:15, maybe 2:30. So it worked. Even though I missed the bus and everything, I still managed to get back by 2:30. and he didn't seem quite as stressed out as he was the last few days. So that taking off that four odd hours more really seems to have made a difference. And I gave him some food and he's eating it. I gave him food yesterday, he wouldn't eat it. He didn't eat the food all day long, and the food I gave him he wouldn't eat either. I mean, on Saturday or Sunday I think it was, or maybe Monday, I gave him his food and his water, and I gave him a treeet, one of his favourite ones, and I put it down. He grabbed it and brought it into the room, and then I closed the door, and he's just going bananas because he doesn't want me to leave. I come home, 8-9 hours later or whatever. The food's untouched. The treat's still on the floor. He's not even touched the treat. So yeah, he's been a little bit affected. I mean, the problem is I've never left him on his own hardly at all. The whole time I've had him, it's been 24 hours a day pretty much together. And there's been a couple of occasions where I've had to leave him for a few hours, but never more than a few hours. I think maybe 4 hours, 5 hours at the most. It's it's a rare, and this has been every day for 4 days, 5 days. But he seems to be a bit more chilled out today because I took him out. I had to sit down first because I was knackered, and I took him out about 2:45, and then I took him out again about 7. So he's been out, and he's done all he needs to do out there. It's now dark, so it's probably about 10 o'clock at night, and I don't feel so tired as well because I had a nap when I got back here. I took him out, then I had a nap for about an hour and a half, and I think I woke up. I think maybe I went to bed about 4, woke up about 6. I needed to sleep because I was so tired, and I'm still tired enough to go to bed now, because it might be gone 10. I don't know how long I've been talking for. I started this about 9 o'clock. It's very dark, so knackering. And what's really strange is my neighbour has started to talk about his life, which he never used to do. It's always about sport, generally. And now we've been going out, because he doesn't have to stay in the ward all the time. I mean, legally, he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to stay in the ward ever. He can come and go and do what he wants. But, as far as from a medical perspective, as long as he lets them know, and if he's got a doctor on the way, then he stays. They say, well, can you wait until the doctor's seen you? And he needs to be there when they're doing the meals as well, because otherwise it messes it up for other people. So, outside of that, for the last 3 days, or I think Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the last 3 days, maybe Saturday as well, we've been going out for a walk. We've gone outside and sat down, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, all 4 days. Which is weird, because yesterday we were sitting at this bench and a duck started pecking at my groin. And for a second I thought it was Vinny. It's because I'm so used to having him with me. I'm not saying that Vinny pecks at my groin, but just if there's movement in my pants, this sounds wrong. Oh dear, there's movement in my pants, so I assume it's Vinny. No. If, I'm used to him like rubbing up against me. Again, that sounds wrong. Just things like licking. No, that sounds wrong as well. Just, him doing his thing, like jumping on me, or laying down and cuddling up to my feet, or or walking on my feet, stuff like that. Or, so it was weird, because I nearly said, Vinny, what are you doing? I looked down, it was this duck looking up at me, and it was pecking at me bits. gently. Very gentle lover. Well, to be honest, I'm glad, because they've got those big old beaks. They could imagine they could cause problems, but he didn't. It was very lovely. His name's Cyril. We got on quite well. We swapped numbers. You know, we're going to see how it goes. So he's been talking, he's been opening up, and he's been asking me about me, which he never normally does. Asking me about my childhood, talking about his own childhood. And I'm not sure if he ever saw me as a human before. I don't know if he ever saw me as a person, just a neighbour. I'm not sure if he saw me as a, I don't know, as a person with feelings or had any interest. But I understand that, because I'm a bit like that myself. But then, he's never really talks about his life normally. It's just all about sport, and I get bored. I tell him. I don't pretend. I tell him I'm not interested in hearing about football. I say it's boring to me. It's not boring to you. It's not boring to most people. But to me, I switch off. I like talking about boxing. But generally, I only like talking about boxing to people that know about boxing. Because I would probably say that I'm more than a casual fan of boxing. It's something that I really have loved for decades. I'd say I'm probably more than just I don't just watch the big fights, although they are the best fights quite often. But so not always, actually. Anyway, so that's not really about boxing, is it? This recorded, and I've made a few faux pas along the way. So I was going to take my friend outside, and I said to his neighbour, "Oh yeah, he got moved to another ward on Monday morning, I think, or Sunday morning. Monday. I'm losing track of the days, to be honest. I think it might have been Sunday morning, and he got moved because there was someone was starting and being problematic with him. I don't know really what that was about, and so it's quite funny. I said, "Do you want me to go and visit him and go and have a word?" Because they basically moved my neighbour, not the bloke. And he said no. He laughed. But then we were out for a walk. He said, "Are we going to go and see that bloke?" I was like, "No." I didn't mean it. I said, "Look, I think it's really worth remembering that people react differently to being unwell, and some people are very patient, some people are not. Some people have, it's no way of, we're all different, we all react different, and I try just like say to them, everyone in the beds, every bed apart from maybe most beds, I'm sure places like the baby maternity ward, there's probably a lot of very happy people in those beds, I'm guessing, after giving birth. I don't know, I've never had a baby. But outside of that, I tried sort of saying to him, like, no one's here because they want to be here, and everyone that's in those beds are unwell. So it's got to need to try and give everyone a break if you can. Don't take it too personally. I think I've been quite lucky in life, in a sense of I've done some jobs which have involved a lot of rejection. Like sales. Sales is one job where it doesn't matter how good you are, rejection's the majority. It's people saying no most of the time. and I kind of got used to that. And also working in a call centre, I got used to a lot of very rude people as well, and I kind of become accustomed to it. And then when I became a counsellor, I got to find out a lot of what people are going through behind the scenes as humans, that is not, because I've kind of got my own experiences and I've got that to work with. But then hearing in depth hundreds of other people's experiences over, I don't know, 5 years or whatever I was a counsellor, that was like, wow. It was very educational, I guess. So I think with those experiences mixed together, I'm kind of able to look at situations from different angles. I'm not saying I do it well, because sometimes I really don't. Yeah, I'm not always perfect. I'm never perfect. I don't even want to be perfect. I never really. I think just being decent. I like to be known as kind, and but naturally kind. Not doing it for any other reason. Not doing it because I want attention or because I want people to think, "Ooh, he's so kind." Ooh, not that, not like that, but just genuine, like a decent person, but not perfect, because it's easy. It's only one way to go once you're perfect. You can't go any higher up, can you? So I'd rather just, I'd rather kind of surf in the middle somewhere, possibly. And yeah, anyway, I said to his neighbour who's in the ward. So I've got talking to two of the people, because he's now in a ward with 4 people. One of the people doesn't talk to me, but admittedly he can't anyway. So he's very not very unwell. So, but he does talk to the others. They've all got to know him a little bit because they're in the same room with him 24 hours a day. But his wife's usually there when I go there, so I say hello to her. But the 2 other blokes in there, I got chatting to them. They know my name and everything. And so I've been starting to go and get coffees for them and sort of saying, do you need anything? And it turns out neither of them are allowed to leave the ward, but my neighbour can. So it's like for medical reasons. And I really put my foot in it. So I said to the blokes in the bed next to my neighbour, I said, well, if you fancy it, you can come for a walk with us if you want to get out, because he hadn't had any visitors for a day or so. And he said, no, I can't. I said, well, it's up to you. If it's really up to you, if you don't want to. He said, no, I can't walk. I said, I said, I'm so sorry. He laughed. He said, no, you didn't know, did you? Because I've only seen him in the bed. I had no idea that he wasn't able to walk. And I said, well, if you want to get a chair, I'm happy to push you down, And he said, no, I'm not allowed out. I said, okay. I think there's a bit of rejection. I think I'm not saying he's pretending, but he might be pretending he's not allowed to leave. That's what I mean. He's, perhaps I'm boring him. But he's a nice bloke. And the one opposite asked me, can you take me out? And I said, well, when you're released from hospital, we can perhaps go for a drink. He said, no, can you just help me go outside? I said, oh, okay, sorry. That was embarrassing. And he said to me, why do you do that? I said, what do you mean? He said, why do you like go on about like all having dates with men when you like women? I said, so? He said, but this just seems a weird thing to do. I said, why? He said, just, I don't know, just a lot of straight people don't say things like that. You know? I said, well, I'm not a lot of straight people. And he said, that doesn't make sense. I said, I know. Nothing does. And then we all just like looked at each other. And like that moment, you know, that moment where you all realise that's true. Nothing really does make sense, does it? If you really like delve into it, it's like, okay, wow. So anyway, and then I did a little dance. Again, I thought I shouldn't have done that. The last, if someone tells you they can't walk, you don't start dancing in front of them. That's kind of just, I wasn't doing it for that reason. I just had a bit of nervous energy, you know. It was strange, but he forgave me anyway. So I was kind of like, I can't believe I just said, do you want to go for a walk? And he said, yeah, I'm not a dog as well. Just don't put it in that word. Do you want to go for a walk? Can I take you for a walk? I said, well, I didn't say that, did I? He said, yeah, you did. He said, another thing. I said, what's that? He said, when you do that, don't hold a dog lead in your hand. And don't say, good boy, good boy, do you want to go for a walk? Good boy. And don't call me Vinny. I was like, okay, sorry. I miss him. The other bloke, he said, they're not taking me outside. I said, okay. And he said, I've been here since, I don't know, he's been there for 5 days, 6 days, 5 days. And he's not been outside since he's been there. And I went to the reception. I said, can I take what's his name out? He's asked me, and she said no. I said, I'll go on. She said no. I said, please. She said no. I said, is that all you can say, just no? She said no. That's when I realised that she could say other things, and I thought maybe I just figured she'd won the argument really. And she said, the reason that he can't go out is because he needs a medically trained person with him. Are you medically trained? And I said, yes. She said, are you really? I said, no, I'm not. She said, why did you say yes? Because I thought maybe you'd believe me. I said, why don't you just stick to your guns then? If you say yes, why didn't you say yes twice? I said, because I didn't think you believed me. It was weird. So she said no. But I did say to her, if you need someone to take him out, I'm happy to take him out. Or any of the other people. Either with my neighbour or separately. I don't care. While I'm here, I'm happy to be useful. Which is a weird thing. I'd rather do something than just not do anything. Not in life, but just in a hospital setting. Because I see there's so many people working so hard, and I kind of, like for example, the man next to my neighbour, he asked one of the nurses, or I don't know, a nurse or carer, I don't know, there's different workers, isn't there, in hospital, if he could get a bag. She had a lot of rubbish on his table, and I said, I can get rid of that for you. It's only bins just over there. I'll just take it bit by bit. So I emptied his table, and he seemed surprised I did that. Makes no difference to me. And yeah, it's just, she was like, there's a hero if you look inside your pants. I don't know why I say that. I'm not saying this to like, oh, how good I am. I emptied someone's table. It's not, I don't think that's going to be my epitaph, is it? It was a bit annoying, but he did empty people's tables. They didn't want him to. He used to walk randomly around hospitals and put people's stuff in the bin. It was very annoying. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of any other weird things that happened since. I was one weird occasion is ordered a taxi. No, this is weird. Yeah, ordered a taxi, and I did it. It's got like this automatic auto system, and at the end of it, they couldn't even understand what I was saying. But at the end of it, they said, "So we're picking you up from your address and delivering you back to your address, my home address." And I wanted to pick me up at the hospital and take me to my address. So they were going to pick me up and drop me off at the same place. You'd think that'd like cause some kind of an error in the system, wouldn't you? But no. So I phoned them up again, and as I phoned them up, they phoned me up. So I hung up, answered the phone. They were calling me, and she said, "Oh, is that whatever?" I said, "Yeah." You made a booking. I said, "Yeah," and I was about to explain, and she said, "Oh, wait." She didn't say I'm talking, but it was kind of that attitude, like, "Wait a minute, let me finish." So she went on and said, she said, "So you don't want to be picked up from that address?" I said, "No." She said, "Okay, I'll cancel it then." And I'd already explained to her that I was at a hospital and I wanted to go there from the hospital. I assumed that by telling her that she would send me a taxi. No. She cancelled the taxi altogether. So I'm waiting for half an hour, nothing comes. I phone up the taxi office again. This time I speak to someone different, and they say, "Oh no, it's cancelled." I said, "Oh, okay." And he was surprised that it was cancelled and they didn't send me a taxi. And so he said, "Well, I'll get someone with you now." So probably about another 15-20 minutes, and I got a taxi turn up. And I might be exaggerating the time scale here for effect. I don't know what type of effect, to be honest. A boring effect. So he pulls up, and I don't know. He doesn't like look at. Well, he didn't know me anyway, but he parked up, and he didn't seem to be indicating who he was for, because there was always people waiting for taxis. So I went to where his door is, where he was sitting in the car. It was definitely from the company I'd ordered, but it could have been for anyone. And I said, "Are you here for Jason?" He said, "Yeah." But he had a weird look on his face. I said, "You all right?" He said, "No, I can't go anywhere at the moment." I said, "Why not?" And he pointed to the screen, which was the payment thing. And they said, "They're telling me the journey's going to be £7. I'm not taking you all the way there for £7. I mean, it's actually £17. I'll give a £3 tip." But so they'd missed out the £10. So what they'd done is they'd put on the same thing where it was the same price as the original journey. So what they'd have charged me to pick me up and drop me off at the same address was £7. Why would you want to be picked up and dropped? I mean, literally picked up. So you get in a car, give them £7, and then you get out of the car again, out of the taxi. I mean, why? Unless you're... The only time I've seen anyone get into a car and then get straight out again, and I think this was a taxi, it was Superman movie, like in the late 70s. He gets in a taxi and gets out the other side, and he's Superman. Goes in Clark Kent, and I think there's a was it taxi or was it police? It might have been a police car. That was a bit rude though, if it was a police car. A bit rude, any car really, isn't it? And he said, "We're not going anywhere. Look, I'm not taking anyone anywhere until I get the proper price." And I said to him, "Look, it's £17. I'm paying you £20 anyway." And he said, "Oh, I'll get in then." I said, there's no argument on my side. I'm too tired to argue, and I know that it's not £7. I've done the journey since, well, I think I've done it 4 times at that point. And he just, halfway through the journey, the office called him up, and he explained the situation, and they said, oh, they didn't know what's going on, and eventually they changed it. They changed it to, it came up properly at 17. But it's like, I couldn't wait around. It's like, I want to really, because would he charge me waiting time? That's what I was thinking. Is he going to charge me waiting time because he's waiting on the proper price? I don't know, but he was a cool bloke, so that was an easy situation to change or to remedy. And so basically, you know, my friend's under observation. He's got things, you know, going to be observed, etc. But going back and forward is really, really knackered me, really, in a way that I'm surprised at. I kind of just didn't expect it, to be honest. I managed to get my prescription, which is good, on the way, and I had a weird experience today. I went into, because they've got a WH Smith's, they've got a Costa Coffee in the hospital. There's a supermarket. What is it? Marks and Spencer's, I think. Yeah. There's 2 Costa Coffees actually. One small one and one larger one where you can eat, like can sit down. So I go into WH Smith as well. So I go into Marks and Spencer's. I get some milk because I got no milk at home for my breakfast in the morning. And I realise I've got very little breakfast cereal either. So I go out, I'm looking for the breakfast cereal, and what I've noticed in this Marks and Spencer's, it's just, maybe it's the same, maybe it's always the same. I haven't been in Marks and Spencer's for years, but everything's home brand. There's no like norm branded stuff. It's just Marks and Spencer's stuff. Perhaps that's the norm. Because, you know, things like Sainsbury's, they have their own brand, but they also sell, you know, popular brands as well. Maybe Marks and Spencer's don't do that, but I thought they did. I thought they sold both. Not sure. Anyway, this one doesn't seem to. So I'm looking for maybe just some cornflakes or something like that. And I end up in this corner where they've got Marks and Spencer's home brand biscuits like Weetabix, and I think another one is like muesli, something like that. But there's this smell. It's not a horrible smell or anything, but it's like a foodie kind of smell. And it felt very familiar, but from the past. It was very strange. I had a very unusual feeling, like I smelt that before, but it's a long, long, long time ago. And I just stood there for a second, just thinking, how strange. In fact, when I visit next time, I might go in there and just have a little sniff again. Just have a little like, because it's going to bug me. I kind of want to know what that reminds me of, because it was emotions connect to it. emotions connect to it, emotions connected to it. I'm not sure if I'm even talking correctly anymore. Oh, I'm so tired. So that's it really. That's the updated version of where I've been and why I have not made any recordings this week since Friday, I think. So I didn't do anything Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Today's Tuesday. I don't know. I can't even really predict if I'm going to make any more recordings this week. It's just hard to know. So probably no Q&A Friday, and hopefully, fingers crossed, and get back to be doing a normal week next week. But I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that I was able to do a recording today. But up till now, I just haven't been able to. It's just been around so many people. I just find it very draining. I just do. I always have done. And I can thrive off it for a while. But then after a couple of hours or an hour or two, I was like, oh. And then after 4 or 5 hours of being out, I'm nearly falling asleep on the bus back today, or in a taxi back. And technically, I've not done anything physical. Literally, I've not done anything physical other than just probably a bit more walking than normal. Because just walking around those hospitals is probably more than I do when I take him for a walk. Big old places, aren't they? And that's it, really. That's pretty much the update. I'm sure there's other stuff that's happened that I've not thought about, or that I was thinking about and I haven't remembered. There's one thing. These 2 nurses came in and asked one of the other patients if they could borrow his skin cream because she had sunburn. And I said, "You got sunburn?" She said, "Oh yeah, look at this," because she had her costume, her uniform on, and she showed me a picture, and it was like her back, and showed her where it was like sunburn on her back. And I said, "Oh, okay." And she's holding it. She looked at me. I said, "Next picture, please." And they laughed, thankfully. They didn't show me another picture, but it was just, I thought, at least I can get away with it still. Because that's the kind of stuff I used to say when I was younger. Maybe I get away with it now because I'm so old and they're just looking at me like a grandfather or something. But it was nice. It's just, I'm not saying looking at the picture was nice. It's just nice to have that friendliness. And they've all been friendly. Everyone I've met at the hospital has been very friendly. And it's just cool. And that is the end of this recording. So as a summary, the website is back up and running. I will edit this tomorrow. I'll try and do it when I wake up. I don't know when I'm going to wake up. It won't be early because it may be getting on to 11 o'clock now. I don't know how long I've been talking for. In fact, let me have a look if I can do it without... It's 20 past 11 and I've been talking for 99... I've been talking for 100 minutes. What's that? Hour and 40 minutes. So yeah... I thought I started at 10. I thought I started at 9. Couldn't have done. 100 minutes. So 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, an hour and 40. Okay. So that's it. Thank you for listening. And remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love.